Alright, so welcome to this video. This is not going to be a tutorial, but more like a reassembly, because I broke this DJI RS2 unit last week by dropping it. I had the motor rubbing, the limit screw of the inside got pushed sideways when it dropped, and it started scraping away at this channel here. So I had a lot of metal debris in the motor. I already disassembled everything, so now I will reassemble everything. If you need to do a teardown of this, you can do this, but in the reverse order. I'm making this video because I could not find anything from DJI online or from other people on YouTube or on the internet tearing this thing down. The tilt motor is the most difficult motor to get off, because you will see you have to take off the circuit board in order to get to the screws that are under here. But we'll get to that later. If you hear any noise in the background, it's because I have a 3D printer running and I don't have time to wait to reassemble this. Alright, so this here is the motor unit, this is the back, this is the side that faces the camera. On this we have this little plate. Here we have the limit screw that goes in this channel. This was the one that broke sideways for me. This little connector needs to go through this hole. Let me zoom in a bit. Through this hole. And you have to be quite careful with these cables, because they carry all the data going from the handle towards the head of the gimbal. That's true. So now I'll have to find the right orientation. And this is held in place with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws holding it securely. So now I have the plate on here. I prepped the 6 screws and I'll start screwing this plate and the motor. One more important thing to know, I tried to screw it back in, but it didn't work, because here on this plate you can see a notch, and also if you look closely on the motor. So you need to put the notch on the other notch, and then you can start screwing it back together. If you are disassembling, you don't have to think about this. Three screws in, 3 more to go, and the last screw. Oops. Alright. When you're finished, you have to put this plate back on. So put the head of the cable through here, rotate it in place, and you see these 4 holes. These holes align with the holes in this. Alright, this is the part that holds the camera on the vertical axis. So this is quite a tricky part. You have to put the wire back through this small circular hole, being careful, being careful not to damage it. Alright, I have it through there. It has to go up, but we'll worry about that later. And now we have to align the holes with the holes that are in there. You can see you have a little pin that helps guide it in place. Alright, for this we have 4 long screws that are usually hidden behind the circuit board. So now I'll start screwing these in the 4 holes. And as you can see, you have to put the screwdriver through these slots that are in here. So it's quite a tricky part, this. Alright, so now comes another tricky part. We're gonna slide this circuit board back in here. So if you are disassembling, you have to take this connector off and then pull it out when you first undo all the screws, of course. So here goes nothing. Put aside the small cable. Go a bit wider. And this is gonna be very tricky. Keep this pointing that way and put this in. Be very careful. Alright. And you want to, when you're reinstalling it, align the USB-C ports with the ones here. So once you've done that, you can start putting the screws back in that is holding everything together. So you can see we have one here, one here, one here, and one here. This is where the thermal compound goes. Normally when you take it apart, you'll have a lot of blue sticky stuff here, and you have these access hatches that will, even when you undo the screws, stick a bit to it, so you have to take them apart. I used a good pin set to pull them off. And as you can see, these screws that hold in the circuit board are very small, so be careful. And the ones for the access hatch are even smaller. Alright, so now I will put these 2 access hatches back on. But before doing that, I'll have to reapply some thermal compound. So first put some on there, not too little, not too much. If you still have a lot of the blue stuff on there, maybe you can reuse it, but I'm playing it on the safe side here. This is one of the CPUs, so definitely put enough on there so it doesn't overheat. Alright, so now we take these small hatches or heat sinks and press them in place. Alright, so now to secure these, we have the smallest screws that you'll come across. A precision bit driver is definitely a must for this project if you want to take them apart. I switched to a different bit, and as you can see, these screws are tiny. So carefully screw them back in so you don't drop one. Alright, I'll do the rest. Alright, all the screws are in. So now we want to put in this connector back. This is going to be very difficult. Having a good set of pin sets definitely helps with this, because you can grab it and put it in place. So I'll do this now. Alright, so I managed to get it back in. It was a little bit more difficult than expected, but be very careful when you put these back in, because you have a lot of very fine small pins on the other side of the connector, and if you bend one you cannot use your gimbal anymore. So very careful, have a lot of patience. Maybe it's easier if you put the connector in first and then screw everything in. You have a little more wiggle room, because the cable is quite short and it has a strong bend in it. So I don't know what's going to be easier. This worked for me, but it took a lot of finesse. In order to access this, you will have to take off this plastic. Normally it's glued on here, so now I'll grab some adhesive and glue it back in place. If you're having a lot of difficulties to get this unstuck, I used a lighter. You can also use a heat gun to soften the glue, and then use a box cutter to scrape away the plastic and the glue. So now I'll glue this back together. And before gluing, I actually forgot, you have this little plastic end cap that sits on top of the whole assembly. Do not try to pull this out when you're disassembling, because first you have to slide it. You can see there's a slight hole here, if the camera focuses. Hello. Yes, there's a slight hole here. So you want to slide it in between the circuit board and the outside, so that the hole lines. So you cannot pull this out. This is what I tried doing at first, without taking out the top screw. So I'll put this one in again. And now we have this plastic end cap back. So now we are ready to start gluing this back together. Alright, and that's really all that's to it. If you want to take it off, to do this whole thing, it's a lot easier. You can slide this off from the arm by undoing these screws. I'll show you how to do that now. Alright, so I managed to slide the cable through the very small hole, and now I will reconnect the cable back on this circuit board. One thing to watch out for with these cables is you can see the holes are not quite in the center, so it does matter how you orient the cable. And if you want to take these cables off, by the way, once again, best way is to have a nice pin set to just gently tug on it. Once you have it a bit loose, you can maybe use your fingers, but be very careful again. You will find all of this behind this plastic cover. This one you can just take off with your fingers or using a flathead screwdriver. So now I'm just gonna click it back into place. And on the other side you'll find 3 holes for screws. These are visible. So you just have to unscrew these. So now I'll put them back in. Alright, and that's all about that to it. I also took off this bit, the locking bit. You don't have to do that. I did it because I was just trying to figure out how this works. One thing you do have to do is take off the camera plate. You can do that by just sliding it down and pressing this. So it just slides off. Again, this is not a tutorial, it's just me putting it back together. Maybe this can help you take it apart or put it also back together. If you take this apart, definitely this is gonna void your warranty 100%. So this one was already a few years old, outside of warranty. I don't have DJI Care refresh or any of that stuff. Don't throw it away just because there's something wrong with the motor. I fixed this one already once because it was loose. You just most of the time have to take off these covers and then do some screws. But for the tilt it's more difficult because you have this circuit board that's in between there and blocking the access screws. So yeah, hopefully this was helpful and enjoy.